This is a weird analogy to start off a basketball training channel's video, but here it is anyway. A lot of people drive as much as NASCAR drivers do, but they aren't professional drivers. A lot of people play a lot of basketball, but aren't professional basketball players. And most people will be like, yeah, Ross, they're just naturally gifted. That's why they're better. And this may be true, but what if it isn't? What if this is not true? And what if you can achieve the same ability as somebody who is quote unquote naturally gifted, but the only thing holding you back is the limiting belief that you weren't born with the same potential as them? So it might not be true that it is possible to achieve the same things as them, but what if it was? Do you want to be somebody that doesn't want to strive for the dream that they have based on the hunch that it may not be possible? Why would you ever do that? Why would you ever pick that option? It doesn't make sense to me. People in all domains would rather point to something, call it the truth, and then blame it as the reason why they never achieve what they want to achieve. I personally think this is a disgrace to humanity overall, but it doesn't matter what I think. If you think, Ross, you're dumb and delusional, then my content might not be for you because I'm trying to get the best out of people no matter what, and that's okay. But if you're at least curious about this potential, then listen up, because in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the 6 bad habits you need to quit if you want to go from missing every single layup in games to somebody that people will call a naturally gifted finisher at the rim. By the way, when people say that it is impossible to develop the skills that naturally gifted players have, they are correct. Something my high school coach always said was that he doesn't believe in individual training. Up until a couple of years ago, I completely disagreed. But more recently, I actually agree and see where he's coming from. Because what coaches see that most trainers don't see often is the actual demands of the game, the speed, the chaos, the pressure. Coaches see this, coaches live in this, and then they scoff at trainers, and then sometimes there's some tension between trainers and coaches because coaches call out what trainers do as silly a lot of the times or something that won't help players in actual games. But when it comes to the different ways that we approach training with good drills, I believe we get the most support and understanding from real coaches that are coaching actual games because it makes sense to them based on what they see on a day-to-day basis. Now, I'm not saying that every coach agrees with the way we approach individual training or training outside the game. But put simply, the training that most players do just doesn't get them better. It merely just gets the rust off. It's like a warm-up so that they can continue their bleak trajectory to a mediocre basketball career. I believe that 99% of training that you see is like this. It's training that is no better than people just playing basketball without a focus, without any intention. This goes back to the NASCAR driver example. Most people drive just as much as NASCAR drivers do if you looked at mileage. That's probably true, right? It's somewhere around true at least. But what's the difference between NASCAR drivers, regular people, and then let's even throw in like a 13-year-old kid that doesn't have any experience driving? The 13-year-old kid has no feel. They're not to be trusted. They're going to swerve. They're going to crash into somebody probably. By simply driving on regular roads all the time, they will become at least a decently safe driver, and we could call them now regular drivers. And now these regular drivers keep driving on regular roads regularly, and as long as they keep improving as a human, their driving ability might get a little bit better over time. But now, how does a regular driver become a NASCAR driver, a professional driver? And this is what I'm interested in and what I've done with players in the gym and online over and over again. The results that we get in the gym and online are like no other on the planet that I've ever seen before. And the testimonials that we have online from our training, our basketball training app, Good Drills, which by the way, hit number 99 on the top free sports apps in the App Store, by the way, match these results. And it's not that we're doing anything crazy. We are treating players according to the goals that they have. They become a NASCAR driver, with that analogy, by at least attempting what NASCAR drivers do, which is driving at really high speeds, going around cars at sharp turns, high speeds, cars all around them, chaos. This is why they're NASCAR drivers, not because they did hundreds of miles driving on a highway with nobody else around them. They're constantly pushing the limits of their focus to do NASCAR driver-like things. So whether this is with their imagination, they actually go and drive against/with other people, they set up different obstacles to mimic the demands, they are challenging their focus in the realms of NASCAR. They are actually introducing the demands that they will experience in high-level driving competition. And if a regular driver develops the capability of a NASCAR driver, how do they even go beyond that? they would need to continuously push into the edge of their ability without falling into the trap of maintenance, routine, and comfortability, because that's where a lot of people end up. Now let's take this analogy, take this concept, and look at what most players would need to do, or stop doing rather, if they wanted to become a NASCAR driver in the realm of basketball, and specifically in the realm of finishing. Now, the first thing that they need to do to be a better finisher in actual games where they want to play well against good competition at the highest level is you need to be able to jump high. You need to be able to jump high, and you need to be able to jump quick, right? If you take NBA players and you pluck them out of their game and put them into a high school game, that is the first thing that you'll notice a lot of times is the strength of their jumps, how high they can jump, how quick they can jump, the different angles that they could jump from and still be successful. Like, they're adaptable jumpers. If you can't jump high, I don't care how many mic-ins you've done or how good you are at finishing, it doesn't matter. I don't care how many layups you've made by yourself in the gym. If you can't match athleticism to the best athletes on the planet, to some degree, it's going to be really hard. Even if you look at players that aren't considered high flyers or crazy athletes, they are still super athletic. They're just not super athletic compared to the people they're going against. Kyrie Irving, people say he's a great finisher. I promise you, he wouldn't be as good of a finisher if his vertical was not where it is. If he was at a, 22-inch vertical, standing vertical jump rather than a 30-inch vertical jump or a 29-inch vertical jump. Jumping high is very important for your ability to finish. It just makes everything easier when you're up there. Now, the second thing that I would do to develop somebody in a way that makes them actually better at finishing is practicing jumping high with a ball. Jumping with a ball. You need to be able to get up with a ball in your hands, and a lot of people struggle with this. Somebody that's in the NBA, somebody that plays Division I basketball, you take them out of there and you put them into a high school game, you will notice how effortlessly the ball can move with their body, right? They could jump in various different ways, with various different conditions, very adaptable jumpers with the ball in their hand. They can manipulate the ball. They can do things with the ball. They can touch the backboard with the ball. They could touch backboard net, backboard. They could do all these crazy things, moving the ball in the air quickly and jumping with the ball. So this is an actual thing that you need to be a better finisher in games. If you don't have this, you're going to end up not being able to jump high with the ball. How are you going to get your shot off against people that are more athletic than you? It just decreases the tier at which you could play at. Now, the third thing I would do to get somebody to be actually better at finishing is getting better at finishing with the ball from a focus standpoint. So many people want to say that, oh, I'm working on my floater, or I'm working on my touch by literally just making a wide open shot. That is not hard. That is not getting you better. Something I was doing in the gym yesterday, I was having players jump off of 2 feet over a mat, and then all their momentum was sideways, and they still had to finish and have that touch. Another thing that I do with players in the gym all the time is backboard tap finishes, net tap finishes, backboard tap 360 finishes. All of these different things actually challenge the coordination of your hand, your ability to put touch on the ball in an athletic way. I like to call this athletic skill. They have the ability to coordinate extremely quickly, focus extremely quickly on the task. We're challenging the focus because once you're in a game, you cannot expect to be really good at finishing in chaotic situations or even have the confidence to attempt those finishes if you haven't done them in the game. And a lot of people want to go blame confidence for everything, all of their problems. But at the end of the day, if you knew you were more capable, you would do more in the game. So if you really push the focus of your finishing and just, we don't need 10,000 mic-ins. Push the focus of your finishing in your training. You're going to get better at finishing, actually, right? There's so many drills that I have on Shorts, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, all of it. Check those out. Now, the fourth thing that I would do for a player to actually get them better at finishing in games is work on the perceptual component of finishing. If you look at players like John Morant, Kyrie Irving, all of these different people that you classify as great finishers, a lot of the reason why is they could make decisions, right? They can make decisions before the finish. They can make decisions with where they're going to put their hand, how they're going to spin the ball off the backboard. It's not just all about that capacity and that skill without the perception that you have to deal with, without that defender in front of you. So what do players need to do is they need to go play against people. And not only that, if you take it one step further, think about the things that the guard from the Celtics, Peyton Pritchard, says is that he gets hundreds of live reps up in the offseason a week. He gets his buddies to go fly down to where he lives, and he gets hundreds of live reps up where they're playing defense 1-on-2, 1-on-1. That is putting him in a situation where he's actually doing the thing. That is the demands of the game, is there's somebody else guarding you, and you have to read them, you have to perceive them, you have to figure out how to use all of your capacities that we've talked about in the first 3 steps, and now apply it in a way where there's actually a live defender. So that's the 4th thing that I would make sure you do. It's very important, that perceptual piece. The 5th thing that you need to start doing is really work on that conceptual component. You see it all the time. Like, a lot of people can finish exceptionally well because of their ability to shoot. A lot of people can finish exceptionally well because of their ability to read screens. A lot of people can finish exceptionally well because they're able to do their work early in some capacity. And sometimes this means that they're able to take contact before on the drive, and then by the time they get to the rim, it's kind of wide open. There's no contact. There's nobody to really fend them off. But what a lot of people do that I see is that they're not willing to bite that bullet early on in the possession in order to make things easier for the finish. A lot of people, for example, they'll go drive and they'll avoid contact on the drive, go away from the basket. Now that finish becomes so much harder. So how much work can you do early? This is what I'm thinking about from a conceptual standpoint. Think about those things, go into those things. There's a lot to unpack there, but definitely super important for actually becoming a better finisher in games beyond anything else. Now, the 6th and final thing that I would do for somebody that wants to be a better finisher in the game is really think about that emotional component of finishing. If you're scared to go finish, you're scared to go lay the ball up, you're scared to go try to dunk, there's a lot of pieces that come with this. Something that we say in the gym all the time to players that have a lot of athleticism is dunk everything. Have that concept in your brain of you're focused on being aggressive, you're focused on dunking the ball. A lot of people lose focus and they start focusing on, oh, what if I miss a layup? What if I take a crazy shot, trying to do something too fancy? Don't think about any of that. You have to be able to dial in your focus so that your emotions get in check. I made a whole video about this already, so you could go check this out on my channel about overcoming fear and the things that you could do about that. So make sure to check that out. But that is definitely super important if you actually want to be a better finisher in games, because that is an actual demand of finishing, not just laying the ball up when you're wide open in the gym by yourself. Start doing those 6 things. Stop just doing mic-ins all day long. I'm not saying anything is inherently wrong or bad, but if you want to be better at anything, you have to look at what are the rate limiters to being good at that thing? What are the things that are stopping you? What are the things in the way to be good at that game? If you have a dam and the river is trying to flow through the dam and there's a bunch of big boulders in the river, if you just start scooping up sand from the bottom of the river and throwing it out, is that going to help your problem? No. If you want the river to flow, you have to remove the obstacles. So this is what I'm talking about here. If you want to remove obstacles for yourself in your training, you have to present those obstacles, right? So if you don't present those obstacles in some way, and the hardest one here is that emotional obstacle, but again, I made a video on it, so make sure you go check that out. Remove those obstacles by introducing them into your training. It will really help you, and it'll actually make you a better finisher. This is extremely valuable. That's it for this one though. Best way to support the channel is by liking this video and subscribing. Also check out the Good Drill system. We go through all of this type of stuff. We go through the perceptual component, conceptual component, all the ways of actually becoming more skilled, more athletic, and we know what it takes. We have proven methods. We've done this with thousands of hoopers online and in person, trained some of the best players in the country. Make sure to check that out. Link will be in the description of this video. Thanks again.